The 2018 Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone. Moto Guzzi's V7 family expands yet again with the V7 3 series that sees the popular stone model carry over from the outgoing V7 2 generation. The new stone carries itself with the same subtle darkness that made its predecessor so popular, along with many of the genetic markers normally associated with the Moto Guzzi brand. Foremost among these is the transverse-mount V-twin powerplant that protrudes conspicuously from both sides of the bike, and of course, the 52 ponies that come along with it. The fuel tank strikes a classic shape as well, and the rest of the design falls right into line with plenty of yummy goodness under the hood in the ABS and traction control features. There's more to be found, so let's dig into this little Italian gem with its not-so-polished moniker. See our review of the Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone. Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone design. Eclectic and essential, says the factory, and I really can't argue with that. Eclectic and essential. That's the official line from the factory reps in Mandello del Lario, and it's a difficult claim to rebut in light of the chopped-down front fender, minimal appointments and lack of superfluous features. In addition to the chopped look, the generous blackout treatment that runs from head to tail adds even more cred to its custom-built vibe. A single round headlight can and solitary instrument clock pairs with the bellow fork gaiters to make a direct connection to the style of the 70s, but the factory didn't stop there, it even drew from a period-typical palette for the fuel tank colors. That's right, the fuel tank alone gets some paint other than flat black with a satin finish: giallo energico yellow, azzurro elettrico blue, verde camouflage green, and nero ruvido to match the same flat black as the rest of the bike. Gotta say, you can go ahead and pencil me in as a fan of the absolute dearth of chrome on the stone. I've come to despise chrome anywhere on the tank control area for the eye-piercing light it throws back in my face, so the stone scores big in that category. The distinctive 5.5-gallon fuel tank carries the traditional shoulders that help to visually ferret out the protruding engine parts, and it serves to form a sort of faux knee pocket and a landing pad for the spread wing badge as well. Newly lowered for this year, a 30.3-inch classic bench seat takes over from there with the slightest of scoops for the pilot and a full-width P-pad that comes complete with a grab strap and fold-up foot pegs to complete the passenger's goodies. Out back, a fullish rear fender reverts back to blackout to finish out the sheet metal with an oval taillight and standoff turn signals to finish off the lighting. An upswept exhaust system pulls the mufflers up to a jaunty angle that keeps them well clear of the tarmac for a final little sporty kick. Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone chassis. The stone has an eagerness in the corners that is tempered by a reasonable amount of stability on the straights. Tubular steel members make up the dismountable double cradle frame with a weight split that falls out at 46% up front and 54% out back, with a new steering geometry setup to increase agility even more yet. The new steering head setup rides at 26.4 degrees with 4.17 inches of trail over a 57.59-inch wheelbase to give the stone an eagerness in the corners that is tempered by a reasonable amount of stability on the straights. Cast alloy wheels round out the rolling chassis with an 18-inch rim and 190ths up front and a 17-inch rim and 130/80ths out back that come cut primarily for road use. None of that dual-surface scrambler-tastic business here, just sticky road rubber. Standard 40mm hydraulic forks float the front end on 5.11 inches of travel, but the only adjustments in the system are found in the Kayaba shocks out back that come with not but the obligatory spring preload tweak. Pretty doggone vanilla stuff, but not unexpected given the salt-of-the-earth nature of the V7 family and the standard configuration. MG steps up its game in the brakes with a pair of 320mm front discs complete with 4-pot, opposed piston Brembo calipers to bind them. Out back, a twin-piston anchor grabs a 260mm disc to slow the rear, and both ends benefit from the ABS feature that comes as part of the standard equipment package. Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone drivetrain. The real electronical magic here lies in the traction control feature that comes with 2 levels of intervention and can be disabled entirely for a full raw ride. Not exactly an exercise in subtlety, the air-cooled, 744cc V-twin protrudes to catch plenty of incoming air while forming the distinctive shoulders up front. Granted, it puts some really expensive engine parts in a really vulnerable place where they can easily be damaged in a laydown, but I reckon that the multitudes of fans can't be wrong, and they don't seem to be put off by the possibilities whatsoever. An 80mm bore and 74mm stroke leaves the engine with an oversquare layout that helps to keep horsepower up to the tune of 52 ponies at 6,200 revolutions per minute with 44 pounds-o grunt that come on fully by 4,900 revolutions per minute. Yeah, it could be even gruntier, but not without inverting the bore-stroke numbers a la Harley, and that would just be a trade-off between horsepower and torque at the end of the day. The two valve heads use a pushrod and rocker arm system rather than an OHC to time the poppets. New engineering within the engine reduces pumping losses with revisions to the oil sump and pump to eliminate another source of power loss with oil jets to carry waste heat away from the piston crowns. A Marelli throttle body delivers the fuel-air mix, but the real electronical sick magic here lies in the traction control feature that comes with 2 levels of intervention and can be disabled entirely for a full raw ride. Seeing how this is intended as an entry-level bike, I guess the extra safety is a good thing, even though I'm old school and believe that to truly learn to ride, you need to operate sans crutches and feel the true feedback. I'm sure the new guard is all on board with it though. Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone price. MSRP is at the top of the entry-level bracket, but consider that it does have ABS and TC. The V7 3-stone lands right above the top of the entry-level bracket with a $8,490 sticker. That tag is even sweeter when you consider the ABS and traction control that are frequently neglected on our domestic bikes. Yeah, we got ABS, but so far HD and Indian seem a little oblivious on that feature. Maybe a little more than oblivious. Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone competitors. Harley takes a hit because of its willful avoidance of traction control technology that MG fully embraces. Since the V7 is a midsize, entry-level ride trying to compete in the US market, I think it's only fair to grab a homegrown ride, so here comes the Iron 883 from Harley-Davidson. The Iron runs with a similar look in that it's a midsize standard with ample blackout and plenty of factory custom chops scattered about. A cut-down front fender that sports drilled mounting tabs starts things off right with black sliders, gaiters and triple tree to tie it all together. The peanut tank necessarily changes the upper lines, and of course, since HD mounts the engine fore and aft as it should be, there's no need to use the tank shape to try and mitigate the visual impact of the engine. Plus, that arrangement keeps the jugs nice and safe. Suspension is straight up vanilla across the board, and while ABS is available on the Sportster as well, it tacks another $795 onto the already prouder $8,999 sticker. We won't even get into the hard candy custom color prices, but if you want to dance with the king of paint, you've got to pay the piper. MG also gets credit for doubling the braking power up front against the single-disc Sporty. Harley enjoys a slight displacement advantage with its 883cc plant, and of course, that long-stroke V-twin brings some serious grunt to the table with 53.8 pound-feet at a leisurely 3,750 revolutions per minute, much more stump-pulling grunt at a much less frenetic pace. Harley takes a hit, however, because of its willful avoidance of traction control technology that MG fully embraces. Yeah, I know I said that learner bikes should be raw. I will also assert that the entry-level bracket is the final destination for some, so the fandanglery will likely benefit those riders tremendously. He said. Always loved MG, but I also always thought they looked a little odd, too. Aesthetics aside, the Stone is a solid little ride that really has a lot going for it, even against the likes of the Sportsters and the Indian Scouts. She said. My wife and fellow motorcycle rider, Alan Hinton, says this is a small, nimble bike. It has nice throttle response, a little vibration, but not overly so. I wouldn't ride it for a long distance, it's not that kind of bike, but for a commute or bopping around town, yeah, this is a nice bike. Moto Guzzi V7 3-stone specifications. References. Harley-Davidson Iron 883. See our review of the Harley-Davidson Iron 883. Indian Motorcycle Scout. See See our review of the Indian motorcycle Scout.
If you liked this video, please share your thoughts in the comments below and don't forget to hit the subscribe button.